Yeah, we are live. Welcome to the NUSHU Thought Leader Series. I am so thrilled to have Lauren Ash with us today. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Vanessa.
So maybe I didn't say this to you, Lauren, but Lauren's been my girl crush for a long time. And when Ellie Burrows introduced us, and then we finally had a conversation, I was like, yes, this woman, I could talk to her for hours. And I just felt so much alignment in that conversation. So I'm extra excited to share our conversation today with everyone listening.
Yeah, alignment, my favorite word. Thank you.
Awesome. So if you don't know about Lauren yet, she is a visionary, a spiritual teacher. She's an incredible speaker and writer, and she is the founder and CEO of the culture-shifting lifestyle brand synonymous with Black women's well-being, Black Girl in Om. Black Girl in Om is a holistic lifestyle brand focused on wellness for women of color, and its membership community, The Circle, focuses on connecting the dots between healing and wellness. As a leading voice in the healthy living world, Lauren's brilliance has shifted how many of us perceive wellness and the industry that houses it. We're going to talk a lot about that today. We deeply appreciate her outlook on what it means to be well, what it means to be whole, who wellness is for, and why healing in community is so important. So I am thrilled to dive into our conversation. I see someone in the chat has been crushing on Lauren for a long time too. I'm so positive I'm not alone. As people filter in, and we've got lots of people coming in, welcome, welcome. I also want to introduce myself and NUSHU to those of you who don't already know us. To those of you who are with us consistently for almost all of these talks, I look at all of the attendee lists and I know who comes, and I thank you for being back with us. To anyone new, welcome heartily. My name is Vanessa Cornell. I'm the founder of NUSHU. At NUSHU, we create space and permission for people to get to know themselves in true community. We do this through talks like this, other free offerings like Community Live, which is free community coaching, and my personal passion and the core of our mission is NUSHU Group, a modality that is simply a place for you to show up in your truth in a small, intimate, and safe setting and be received with non-judgment and compassion. Anyone who holds the intention of love can be a facilitator of this modality. And I want to let everyone know that we do trainings to help people learn the skills and feel empowered to hold NUSHU Group. And our facilitator training is the application period is closing in about a week. So if you're interested, go to our website, check it out. Everything's also on our Instagram at NUSHU. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for bearing with me through that. Let's go on to what you really came here for, which is this conversation. Oh, there are so many places we could go, but in our talk description, we posed a specific question. What does it mean to be a healer? So maybe let's just start there. Like, when did it first cross your mind? When did that word come into your mind or enter into your consciousness? Do you remember a moment? Maybe it's not a moment, but what was your sort of relationship with that just concept for yourself to start with?
Yeah, I love that. There are a few moments. And I just want to say to everyone before we get into the conversation, I'm so just excited. I just quickly scrolled through people here and I'm like, oh, my friends are here. My community here from the circle. I see y'all. I feel so excited. So thank you, Vanessa. I remember a moment actually with my grandmother. It was either my sophomore or junior year of college. And I went to visit her at her little winter, she was a snowbird. She was born and raised in Pleasant Hill, Louisiana. But, after she migrated up, after she married my grandfather, up to Chicago and then eventually the Twin Cities, lived her life here, raised all the kids essentially on her own. She had retired and had made a home for herself in Arizona. And so I went to visit her and I had really bad cramps. And I had been so used to, conditioned rather, that's why I was used to it, conditioned to always reach for a pill, you know, in order to soothe my cramps. And I wasn't ever like officially diagnosed with endometriosis or anything like that. But looking back now, I definitely think that I had it. Every 3 months, 4 months or so, I would literally be completely debilitated from my period. Like, I literally remember being in a finals test once at school, and all of a sudden I felt completely nauseous, completely weak. And I had to stop the test and somehow drag myself back to my dorm in order to just like lay down. So this was starting to come on as I was visiting my grandmother in Arizona. And she just looks at me, she's like, just go boil some ginger. And I'm not kidding you. It was a big moment for me because A, it worked. And B, the ease with which she just gave that to me. So it was like, again, in that moment, I wasn't like, I'm a healer or my grandmother's a healer. I didn't even have that language, but it was a seed that was planted in me around the power that I do have to access natural resources that the earth provides in order to provide ease and well-being in my body, you know? And it was also later on, you know, now that I'm really into ancestral healing and understanding rituals that have been passed on that may have been buried or silenced or what have you, I'm like, oh, that was her passing along something super simple, right? It's not like she was like, go do this and then do this and make a whole tonic and concoction. It was literally just like, chop up the ginger, put it in the pot, you'll be good. But it was simple, and yet it was profound for me, you know?
Yeah. And I guess what strikes me in that story is that that was like, she gave you an empowerment, right? She didn't give you a pill that was like something outside. You need something outside of you that you can't really control, you don't really understand, to fix you, right? It's like, you've got it. Here you go.
Yeah.
You got it. And now you've got that.
Yes.
Oh, it's beautiful. Grandmothers and grandmother's wisdom. We could have a whole conversation about how the older generation, particularly in this country, has been sort of relegated to the sidelines because they're not, you know, productive anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like once you become unproductive, you get pushed to the side rather than being like honored and revered for wisdom.
Right.
Okay, but that's another conversation. Let's keep going. Let's keep going on healing. I want to know the next steps for you. Because, and we were talking about this a little bit before we started, I think a lot of people have these sort of feelings, ideas, thoughts inside of them, right? So like, oh, maybe I'm not listening to my body, or something's telling me something. And how does that translate into the choices we make and what we do? And you talked a little bit about really listening, really listening. So can you talk a little bit about that in your own life, and how you translate the things, the messages that come to you, and how you process and listen to them, and how you gained a practice of hearing them?
Yes, I love this question. First of all, I do firmly believe that we all are always being given, as I call them, spiritual downloads, you know, whispers, divine whispers, spiritual breadcrumbs, these messages that come to each of us in different ways. So, you know, I receive a lot of messages in dreams. I receive a lot of messages through other people, like a random conversation I'll be having, but that person is like saying all these things, and I'm like, no, God is speaking through you to me, and I need to listen. You know, I've also, you know, I'm not as deep as I'd like to be in it, but numerology as well. You know, when you see repeating numbers, there's this really powerful ancient wisdom of numbers. You know, numbers preceded any alphabet, so it's like, it's not just a number, it's like a symbol that carries energy in it, in and of itself, that can really give you something that you might need in the way of like a nod to a certain direction of something, right? So I say all this to say and just affirm that, like, I don't feel like I am particularly special. Like we are all, we are all able to receive messages, and they just come in different forms. And what you said about listening is so key. You know, I've shared this story a few times, of course, but I'll just emphasize it again. I was at a sermon around actually this time last year when I was still living in Marina del Rey in California. And it was at Agape with Michael Beckwith. And he went in about this really deep story that I'm not going to share, but it was heart-wrenching. It was basically a story where he had to learn the importance of listening when you don't have the rationale behind the thing, right? It's like, if God, if spirit, if your ancestors tell you something, it's in your best interest to not sit around and be like, okay, now let me put together the pros and cons behind if I do this versus if I don't. Okay, let me even like go to a spiritual healer and have them tell me. It's like, if you get the message, follow it, right? And ultimately at the end of his story, he shared, obedience sharpens your ability to listen. So it's like, when you follow through, and now, not 6 months from now, not 10 years from now, not when you're on your deathbed, when you follow through, you will be met and tended to at every moment. The steps will appear in front of you as you listen. And in the obedience, it'll sharpen your ability to listen even more. It's like a muscle. It's a spiritual muscle that's being flexed. So for me, you know, I am so dedicated to a journaling practice, in part because of this, because I'm able to page back and look through and be like, girl, now you know that you've been getting this message for years now.
Right. Right.
A month now. Or, you know, really just paying attention rather than I hear it and it passes through me and it just feels like a dream that's unattainable. I believe all of our dreams and all of our desires are really for us. Like, it's not like some fantasy that's like, oh, that would be nice one day. No, it's like for you. It really is for you. And it has like God's stamp of approval on it. And I'll briefly also touch on the power of human design in my life, because that has been another powerful spiritual system that has absolutely supported me in my decision making. Human design is informed by a few different spiritual systems, and it all came together in 1987 when the founder of the integrated, you know, of the integrated system, Ra Uhuru, he basically downloaded and was given how all of these various spiritual systems were in conversation with each other, including the Kabbalah, particularly the Tree of Life in the Kabbalah, the I Ching, which is a 5,000-year-old Chinese philosophy and archetypal system, astrology, which most of us here probably know to varying degrees, and the Hindu system of the body, so the chakras. Put all these together in conversation, and there you go with human design. Human design, one of the more foundational kind of aspects of it is your authority, right? It's literally where in your body is communicating to you the yes or the no, the expansion or the contraction, the this is for me or the this isn't for me. And I love it so much because human design is all about prioritizing the body's wisdom, prioritizing the body's intelligence, when, especially in Western culture, we've been so programmed to prioritize the mind. And it's not anti-mind, you know, it's just like the mind isn't actually what's supposed to make decisions though. The mind isn't actually set up to keep you safe. The mind isn't what you're supposed to make these big choices from. When I guarantee everyone listening now, we have all been taught the opposite. We've all been conditioned in the opposite. And particularly as women and as a Black woman, the deconditioning that I've been in around, like since finding this out, around why it is that I haven't learned to trust my body and why it is that I haven't particularly learned to honor what my body says. Again, obedience sharpens your ability to listen. How do I honor what my body's wisdom is telling me? And my authority is my sacral, you know, it's like this gut feeling. It's this gut yes or no. And I've just been in this process of experimenting with it ever since I discovered it this past summer, and committed myself to now a lifelong journey with it. And it's been amazing. You know, it's led me to this beautiful apartment that I live in right now. It's why I chose it. My circle was like, yep. It's why I decided to move forward and sign the lease on the commercial space, which is going to be our healing space for Black Girl in Om. And it's why I'm about to make some other decisions that my mind is like, girl, don't do that. But I'm like, you're not in charge here. Okay. You're not the one.
Oh, so much good stuff here, Lauren. I want to go back to human design. I want to talk about that more. But let's talk about Black Girl in Om, and let's talk about home. You know, so much of your work is about centering the experience of Black women and women of color, creating a safe space for those women. And I'm going to use your words here to rewrite the narrative of what well-being looks like to ourselves and in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me more about this. Like, tell me more about what you've learned about like the prevailing story, right? The things that we're taught, you know, starting with, you know, all wisdom is in the mind, right? Which I'm totally there with you. That was what I was taught, right? And it's been an unlearning. So what are some of the other stories that you've been working to unlearn and create a space for unlearning? And how are you shifting those stories through, and this comes back to human design, through this thing you've created in the world,
Yes.
in Black Girl in Om, and now this like physical space you're creating in home?
Yeah. I love this. I'm actually going to grab my journal, which is right there, because guess what? This morning in the circle, which is our membership community at Black Girl in Om, we had a beautiful prompt in our 21 Days to Abundance challenge. And I literally wrote out a lot of the limited beliefs that I have been moving through right now. And it's related to a very hot topic for all of us, which is money. So I'm going to grab that.
Oh, I love that. You know, we just actually did in our, you know, the facilitators who go through facilitator training, we created a membership for them because people wanted to stay together and support each other. And so we've been doing these community groups. And the last one we did was examining our beliefs around money.
See,
it's so important.
We're going back to alignment.
Yeah.
Alignment. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. You know, the prompt was, what limits me from receiving what I want materially and other forms of abundance? So this is like fresh from my journals, y'all. This is like vulnerability, but it's so freeing to actually just speak and share, because it's like, then it's out there and it's like, it can't keep you bound anymore, you know? So I wrote down this, me being concerned about where it will come from. This has been huge for me. I have discovered through a lot of self-witnessing, self-study, again, journaling and reflecting on my life, that even with the opening of this healing space, right? I'm so thrilled that the community knows about it, because now comes the fun, letting people support. And in the past, my mind was like, you have to do everything yourself. It's going to be really hard. It's scary to even name an amount that you need. It's scary to even get clear on what your needs are, because it feels safer, but it's not, to just hide in the dark and pretend like, you know, it's just gonna happen because of your own will to struggle and suffer in making it happen. And I've also realized how freeing it is to affirm that that the abundance for all the projects that I have in the world, like the material, you know, financial support that it requires, it's already available. So all I have to do is embody my own awareness that, like, because I am here, because I am literally a child of God, all of my desires and dreams are already blessed. So all I need to do is make it known what I need, and then it'll be met. And it could come from the fundraising campaign. It could come from some wealthy billionaire who's like, guess what? You know what? We're just going to write you a check. But it requires that I'm open to receiving that, you know? So I named that. And it's like, I wrote it down as a limit because it's something that I am still expanding within, you know, like I'm aware of it, but I'm still expanding within it, right? I'll just share two more, because again, I know this is a hot topic and we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Not alone. This one's big, not relishing in rest as a part of the process. I've been reprogramming myself since the fall around this. And I really have to shout out to my human design teacher and now a dear friend, Jazz of Moon Death Star Mother. She expanded me so much when I was doing coaching with her. And she said that we believe so much that we work hard and then the money comes. Why can't we believe that we rest and then the money comes? So I started, now when I get massages or when I go to the sauna, which are two of my, nourishing practices every month, I literally go into the sauna and I literally get on the massage bed and I'm like, I'm earning money right now. Money is coming to me because I am giving to myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's deconditioning. Everything about our Western culture is like, work hard, then you make money. Oh, work hard, then you make money. And then you're going to retire, but then you're going to retire. And then you're going to be like, what am I doing with my life? Because guess what? Also, the work that you're doing was unfulfilling. Yeah. All of this is so messed up. We are literally sent here to live a life of joy and freedom. And I'm like, in my joy and in my freedom, that's when the universe is like, she knows who she is. I'm going to support her. I'm going to support all the things she's doing because all the things she's doing are what she came here to do, So rest is just receiving. The last one I'll share is also a big one for, I think, for a lot of us, not sharing. So again, the question is, what limits me from receiving what I want? Not sharing and not allowing myself to be seen. Yeah. So I've realized this thing, and maybe other people can relate. You have this vision, you have this service, you have this offering, and you're like, I know that this is for me. I know that this feels nourishing to me, but you're like, I'll put it on my website, but I'm not going to tell anyone about it.
I've done that so many times.
Hey, I did this year. You know what's funny? I had a human design one-on-one on my website, didn't really announce it, took it down 2 days ago. Why in the past 48 hours have people been like, hey, can I do that session with you? And I'm like, so I need to put it back up and I need to tell people about it. But it's like, we're afraid of being seen. And we're afraid of that for various reasons, whether it's rejected or being criticized. But I've learned in my experience that it's actually a fear of more success than I could possibly imagine. And when I say success, I don't actually mean material abundance exclusively. I mean joy. Like it feels amazing to serve people with your gifts. And like, there's, again, because of the programming, we're not programmed to believe that we can serve people and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it literally is just like the brain and the mind is like, it can't compute it. So it says no preemptively. So I hope this addresses your question.
It's perfect. And the chat is going crazy. I mean, I think it's hitting everyone right in that place of unlearning, right? It's like, oh God, me too,
Yes.
It's like, and for me, it's ongoing because I'm like, yeah, like, no, I don't have to work myself to the bone. Yes, I deserve this. And I'm like, yeah. And then I do it again. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Yes. There it is again, all of us, right?
And I know that you're like, you love through all the things that you do at NUSHU to create an awareness around the power of holding space. And I think that with what you said, because we all do it, right? I did it, you did it, all the people in the chat doing it in different ways. So that's where the power of holding space for ourselves comes into play, right? Like, it's not about when we notice that we're shrinking ourselves, we notice that we're getting caught up in, I know I need to do this thing, but I know I need to be supported. Where's the support going to come? It's like, put it out there. It's going to come.
Yeah.
When we notice that judgment and that energy of going back to old limiting beliefs, it's about giving ourselves so much grace and compassion, because simultaneous in every moment, it's like the highest self is present. The highest self, Vanessa, is there, who's like, girl, you got this. Yes, yes, yes. But then like, the former version of you who was like meek or like afraid or like timid or like not certain is there too. And it's like, holding space for all versions of ourselves while always pushing ourselves forward and knowing that we have the support to do so.
Yeah, it's like that version of me that's like, what if they don't like it? You know, that it's like, I hear you, sweetheart. I know you're afraid,
Yeah.
but we're going to do it anyway.
Yes.
I love you. I love you. Like, and I know you're not going to go away, and that's okay. We're doing it anyway, and we're pushing it out anyway. So it's practice, it's ongoing. But let's talk about human design. I'm so interested because when we talked the first time, you mentioned your human design. I was like, oh, I think I might be one of those too-ish, because there's different types of people who are supposed to do different types of things in the world, right? And I I've mentioned this before, but I have people who are really, 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 really intuitive, and they channel things and they see things and they get the downloads. And part of me is like, why don't I get those? And then part of me is like, because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing in the world. I'm like a scaffold builder. I like building things, right? And figuring out what people need and putting them together and creating sort of structure and containers. I like building containers. So talk to me about human design with respect to you. I want to know about you specifically. But then talk to me about like how different people can step into sharing their gifts with the world, because it's not all going to look the same, right? Like my way is different than your way is different than every other person on this call's way. And how do people find their way of sharing their gifts with the world?
Yes, I love this question. I love that you're also giving me space to speak about it, because it was absolutely profound for me to meet the woman who I mentioned earlier, Jazz, because she is a Black woman embodying human design, both in terms of the lived experience of it and also teaching it as a means of identifying your soul's purpose. So I'm just feeling grateful in this moment that you're giving me a chance to share about it again as a Black woman who's now doing that, because I know how much representation matters around various forms of healing modalities and spiritual systems. And so I'm just like knowing that many people will be transformed through this. So first of all, the way that I really understand human design as well is that in what you mentioned, Vanessa, around all of us having different gifts and a different reason for being here, if all of the world were in their purpose, in their gifts, in their alignment, then we would literally experience heaven on earth. I view human design as a way of me expressing my own heaven on earth within myself and the community around me. So that's powerful. Yeah. That's powerful. It's not just another, I don't view it as just another thing to understand myself more. It's not like it's not solely like a personality assessment or a personality thing. It's like, no, it's literally meant to awaken us so that we can experience joy now, right? So, and fulfillment now. So for my human design, I'm a manifesting generator, which is essentially about 33% of the population are manifesting generators. A very, it's debated within the human design community. It's like, is it a hybrid of manifestors and generators? And like the general consensus is that it's more a generator energy, which generators are really meant to work. And I think we get triggered a lot when we hear this word work. It's like, I'm here to work. Like that sounds, it's like, yeah, I have a lot of projects. I'm creating a healing space. I'm writing a book. I have a whole organization called Black Girl Gnome that is inclusive of a podcast, membership community, and several other things. And, I'm creating several things like behind the scenes right now too. The key for manifesting generators and also for generators is you're meant to be working at what you love. So it's okay to go to bed at the end of the day feeling exhausted if during that day you were expending your life force energy on the things that bring you joy, right? On the things that are in alignment with your soul. There are other types. There are true manifestors. They're meant to really get the vision and have other people do the work on the behalf. There's projectors. They're not really an energy type. they receive energy from the collective, and they are meant to really always wait to be invited in order to share their truth and their wisdom. And then there are reflectors, which are fascinating. They're only 1% of the population. I know 2 of them. One of them is in this gathering right now, but they're meant to reflect back to humanity what's good and what isn't, in short. So anyway, I'm a manifesting generator. I'm really here to create and to work and to serve using my gifts. As I mentioned before, my sacral authority is that gut knowing. So every day, all day, I'm getting things to respond to. That is literally how I'm meant to make decisions. I'm not supposed to initiate. And I think when, as a manifesting generator, I can oftentimes desire to be in that manifestor energy, like the manifestor type energy, because it sounds like sexy, right? It's like, ooh, I just get to tell other people what to do and they activate it for me, right? But truly, anytime that I reflect back on my career and my life, when I was initiating without initiating a response to something, and what I mean by this, I'll give a very simple example. If I today woke up and was like, I want to move to Hawaii, right? Life didn't give me any hits about that. No one said, hey, have you been feeling about like moving to an island lately? Or like, I get an ask to go speak at a conference in Hawaii, or someone's like, would you like to come guide this retreat in Hawaii? But I just am like, I want to go to Hawaii. I'm going to be frustrated. That's a signature sign of being out of alignment or of being in the not self, to use human design language. I'm going to face resistance and I'm going to get frustrated. However, if all day, every day for like the next week, people are like, ooh, Hawaii, I'm getting all the, it's giving me something to respond to. And I'm supposed to really pay attention to my sacral response. Is it feeling expansive around Hawaii? Is it feeling contracting? Because your authority, whatever your authority is, some people have emotional authority, ego authority, all the things that we're not going to get into right now. It's literally within you to keep you safe. It's hardwired within your DNA to keep you safe. And it's amazing too, because as spiritual as human design might sound in my individual studies of it now, which I've been nerding out, y'all, is so deeply connected to science and to now proven research around DNA and our codons. And it's just mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. I'll share one more thing about my human design that I think informs a lot of the work that I do. And those of you who are in the circle or who are like friends of mine, you're gonna maybe pick up on these things about me. But human design, you also have a profile. It's basically a conscious and an unconscious part around how your personality shows up, and how like the role that you are meant to play over the course of your lifetime. So I'm a 2/4. I really appreciate that that Jazz has reframed a lot of these profiles, and so I'll use her language. A 2/4 is the magician and the infinite friend. So the 2 energy is all about having this magical quality to you. So I have like these magical gifts that are divine that other people notice in me that I don't even notice in myself. I've had friends for years telling me, Lauren, you're so into astrology, you need to be teaching this. And I'm like, no, I'll just go over to this website and just share it with you, right? Like, but I've had this intuitive, like non-research, non-studied, like wisdom that I've just picked up on for astrology. And now it's funny that I'm getting even deeper with human design and astrology is a part of it. And I've had people reaching out of the woodworks to be like, can you teach me human design? And I'm like, Amanda was right all those years. Okay. But also, like, you know, I get a lot of people who will even DM me on Instagram. They'll call attention to things that I'm just like, you loved that? Like, I'll share a photo of me or a video of me dancing. And they're like, you just brought me so much joy. I'm dancing now too. And I'm like, what? Okay. So like 2s don't really have to do the most, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like, we're literally here to be ourselves and to express the natural gifts that we've had in us since we were children with the world. I'm not supposed to do anything for attention. I'm supposed to literally do like all the things that little Lauren loved to do, which was reading, writing, singing, dancing, and like being seen. All my VHS tapes, I'm just like dancing to the Lion King and like doing the splits, and like my mom's just like videotaping me laughing. And it's like, that's literally what I'm supposed to do. Not supposed to do anything outside of my natural gifts. The 4 energy. Oh, and we like to be like left alone in doing that too. So it's weird because as much as I love community and sharing, I also love being by myself and get really bothered if people are trying to like come into my space when I'm just trying to be left alone. So that's a really big part of the 2 energy. And that's a part that I'm more conscious of. The unconscious, the 4 energy, is the infinite friend. Again, I'm using Jazz's language for it because I just appreciate how she has reframed the profile energies. The infinite friend is, it's what it sounds like. I have a beautiful, meaningful community, and it's my community that will oftentimes be able to help me thrive and help me succeed. And it's in the unconscious part, which is interesting because I think anyone outside looking in at me would be like, oh, of course she has a lot of people who support her. Of course she has a lot of people who want to help her succeed. But y'all, like, I have to come out of my own world sometimes to see that. And that's one reason why I was so blown away last week when we finally announced the space that we're opening, because I went 4 months like keeping it mostly to myself. And then when I let the world know, people were like, oh, I want to help with this. Oh, I'm going to donate this. What do you need? What do you need? And I'm like, wow, y'all really some real ones. And I need to remember.
Oh, this is so beautiful, Lauren. And I want to just point out something, which is maybe obvious, but I'm going to point it out anyway, which is that you just told us how awesome you are and your gifts. And all of us were like, yes, you're that awesome. And so what I would say is, for myself and for everyone else, that's actually hard for us to do, right? Like that takes courage, actually. But when you do it, it creates such a beautiful sort of resonance and ripple of people just being like, yes, let's celebrate your beautiful gifts and how you're not afraid to share them and how you're not afraid to put them out in the world. And it's just so fascinating when we see that happen, and then it's still hard for us to do.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that every single person on this call could give us their version of what you just did, which is like, this is who I am.
Yes.
This is how I'm glorious. These are my gifts. This is how I share it with the world. It'll be different than yours, right? It'll be totally their own.
Yes.
But that everyone has the innate capacity to like know and own and share that, which is why I love the human design framework, because it gives us almost like a permission to own it, right? It allows us to like take that thing that's inside of us, but see it more clearly and have words go with it and be able to then say, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
It's me
It's
in
like
my full glory.
It's like our fingerprint. All of us have a unique fingerprint. I'm not over here trying to look at Vanessa's fingerprint and say, I wish I had that one.
Right.
But we do every day when we forget, because it is a forgetfulness. We all, I believe we were born knowing who we are, right? It's the conditioning, it's the programming that takes it away from us. So human design is one of many modalities and many systems that can help us remember who we are. You might find prayer, you might find it through yoga, you might find it through breath work, you might find it through a vacation that you needed to give yourself that you were denying for so long, and you awaken to who you are there. Human design is a really clear pathway there, though, I will say. But it's like, I'm not looking at Vanessa's fingerprint wishing that it was mine. But we do that all the time. And it's not that we don't want to honor ourselves. It's that we get taught to look outside of ourselves and look at other people and compare, you know, like, because what you said is absolutely true. When I hear and read my friends' charts, I'm like, this is so cool. It helps me understand more of like why you are. And like, I'm so glad that you're different than me. And I'm so glad that you're walking in your purpose, you know? And like, it helps you just affirm where to focus. There's this thing in human design also called your incarnation cross, which is essentially your destiny. And it's your destiny through walking in and staying in your lane. So it's not like your destiny just happens by accident. You have to commit to it. Here's my destiny, y'all. I love it. Okay. And it's being lived out right now in real time. My destiny is that I'm here to have intimate experiences with people that lead to their transformation and mine. I'm living it right now with this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to that word healer, because, you know, so much of what I see is people saying like, oh, Lauren's a healer. Oh, Vanessa, you're a healer, but I'm not a healer. Not me,
Right.
not me, right? And so I think that this like bifurcation, that like at the extreme, the sort of like real guru paradigm, right? Like I have all the answers and I will tell you and I will fix you and I will heal you and you just need to do what I say, right?
Yeah.
That's like the extreme. But even in the middle, right, there's this feeling of separation between like the teacher and the student, the healer and the healed. And I know both of us do work to sort of undermine that feeling, and that when you're listening to your body and understanding your purpose and speaking your truth and knowing yourself and going under that conscious level and journaling and then just being that thing that you are beautifully in the world, that is rippling out healing to everybody.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I feel like there's so many people actually right now talking about undermining that sort of separation.
Yes.
And I was struck when you were talking about your sort of process. And for me, it's always just about like figuring out what's true for me. Like, is this true for me? Does this feel like it's true for me? And following that. It's just like
Yeah.
simple practice. Like, is this
Yeah.
true for me? There's nothing else. There's nothing like I aspire to be, you know? So in that process, so like how do you talk about and think about your work as a leader? Because you are a leader, right? You are a leader and you show by example and you create things and you inspire people and you create spaces. How do you embody fully your leadership unapologetically while also helping people understand what they have inside them?
Yes. I love this question. I love what you said as well around what is true for me. We need to ask ourselves that question every day,
Yeah.
because we are living in a time, perhaps unlike any other, where there is so much of a this or that. You know what I mean? Like I'm I'm this or I'm that. And if you're not this, then you're wrong. And like the most radical thing that we can do, and I have to give thanks to a teacher of mine, Mar Muna, of ICU Wellness, she really speaks a lot about what it means to be radically neutral, to access like radical neutrality.
Oh,
And
that's such a cool concept. Yeah.
yes. And I've also been invested in a Kundalini practice from one of my other teachers, Shirley Johnson, that's literally about accessing like the 0 point field. Again, I'm getting so nerdy right now, but this is just what's coming out. Like, what does it mean to exist as zero, to put a zero on everything, and to like know that like that is just so, we don't know how to do that. Like our minds are so conditioned to be like, I'm going to be on this team or that team, this political party or that political party, you know, like, and always be fighting. This is such like our nervous systems are riled up from fighting all the time. So, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no. And I also think that we're not able to hold contradiction, right? We're not able to say both this and this thing that feel like they're opposite are actually both true at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
And I can sit in that contradiction,
Yes.
and it can be okay to
Yeah.
embrace that contradiction, right? So my favorite example is, I hate my kids and I want them all to go away. And I love my kids desperately and would do anything for them. Like, both of those things can be
Yeah.
100% true at the
Yes.
same time. And that's
Yes.
okay. And we just fight to sort of like decide
Yes.
which of those is true. Either I hate my kids and I'm a horrible person, or I have to banish all of my bad thoughts about my children completely, and I'm a
Yeah.
good person. And I can't live in that very human in between space of feeling all of the things at the same time and
Yeah.
not having to choose which ones are okay and put some away in a box so
Yep.
that I can like decide I'm a good person.
Yes. I mean, let's commit if we can, just this day alone, everyone here and everyone listening later, commit to when you feel within you or outside of you, a projection outside of you for that conditioned reactivity to choose this or that, right? See if you can just hold all of it and just be like, both.
Yeah.
I'm just holding it all. Just see what happens. I love this conversation so much. So getting back to your question around like what was the question around being a healer?
Just how you think about, and what you see in your community about people's struggle with sort of like seeing themselves as healers, right? Not looking outside of themselves um,
Yes.
to find healing, or sort of deciding that that's other people.
Yes. I mean, this makes me think about, I hold one-on-one space mostly through an experience that I call heart to heart meditation, right? And in every single session, and I've had around 100, if not more at this point. I don't know. I don't count them. Literally every single session I've had, that person is a divine mirror for me.
Yeah.
So as much as they might be like, thank you so much for this thing, I'm like, thank you. Because the thing is, I saw a past version of myself, I see a present version of myself, or I see a future version of myself. And it's in very specific ways. And it happens very, very magically almost, which actually relates to human design again, because I was made aware that I carry a gate that is essentially the healer that doesn't need like training of any kind. And I've always felt this, like, I'm like, I kind of want to do that training, but I kind of feel like I already like am tapped into the Reiki anyway. Like I just be doing it and I can't explain it. You couldn't ask me to explain it. I don't know how. And when I saw it in my human design, I was like, oh, okay, great. But it does feel like energy healing a lot of the time. It does feel like there is this, divine force that is working, and that it's more than just meditation. That's not to diminish the meditations, but it's like, I think that's why people are like, wow, something was really awakened in me in your meditation. And I'm like, great, because I was being led to lead you. Like I was also in it, So I say all that to say that shifting into thinking about any 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 healing that you think that you need outside of you, as this actually is within me, but I'm investing in this experience, or I'm investing in this practice, or I'm investing in this workshop because I feel a resonance with how this person holds space. And in how they hold space, I'll be able to see something more clearly. And it's not that you wouldn't have been able to get to seeing it anyway. It just might speed up the process a little bit. I have my go-to individuals that I seek to hold space for me. And I feel very much this sense of connection with them. It's not this hierarchy of like, I'm going to you because you have something that I need that I can't get already. It's like they're facilitating a shift through being my divine mirror for me to just like awaken to something,
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the way I think about it a lot is like, when you make a decision and you realize that you'd actually known for a really long time.
Yes.
You know, you just had known for, you just couldn't see it quite yet. So to me, when I see people, um, really gifted people, it's like there's a lot that I already know. I just can't see it clearly. And
Mhm.
people have beautiful gifts
Yes.
of being able to help you see things in yourself. And that sometimes you need someone to push or open the door or create the space or whatever you need at that moment. And there are people who have the gift of
Yeah.
understanding what you need to see the thing you already know, but just couldn't see quite clearly in that moment. And so I totally agree. It's the same way I approach it. And then to me, those people actually fundamentally understand that the person they're working with is really tapping into their own wisdom
Yes.
fundamentally at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
And
And
that's why
that's what they're
energy, and that's where like the energy exchange comes into it, right? I had a session recently where it was so beautiful. I always have people share their intention in advance for the session.
doing.
But if spirit is leading me to go somewhere else, I have to trust it. So essentially, that's what happened. And I said, I think that we're supposed to go in this direction. And it was profound. And I didn't know this person. It was profound because they basically shared that the very thing that I felt intuitively we needed to deepen into was the very thing that they had recently avoided. But here's the powerful thing about it. And this speaks to all of us being our own healer and our highest self always being protecting us. I ended up realizing that this person needed so much space held around them in a one-on-one container that it was basically their highest self knowing I'm not supposed to deepen into this until I have someone holding space for me in a very intimate way. Because the level of like emotional release that happened in the session, it was like you needed someone there, like a one-on-one session. You shouldn't sometimes do something when you're not able to be held, like in a very personal way. So I affirmed them. I was like, look, you know exactly what you need, and it was right on time. You weren't supposed to deepen into that any moment sooner. And like that should show you that your spirit is always working on your behalf.
Yeah,
No?
that's beautiful. So it's hard to believe, but we only have a couple minutes left. Crazy, crazy. I told you we could talk for hours and hours and hours. But I want to make sure that people know how to support your project, how to support home, because we put
Yeah.
that out there. So let's put it out there.
Let's
I
do
think I think we had a link in the chat, but let's put it back in. Because I think that what you're doing is so much more than defined by four walls.
Yeah.
So tell me a little more about the space. We just dropped it into the chat, how people can support what you're doing and be a part of something that I think is way, way, way bigger than four walls.
Yes. Yes. So support in all forms. I feel like I don't honestly know what I'm doing. I don't know how it looks on the outside, but y'all, I'm opening up this space and I'm like, we're going to see how it goes. So I welcome support in all the ways, right? Monetarily, of course, because it is a physical space and the vision is already clear. I already know what color the walls are going to be. I already have an interior designer who mapped out the whole this, that, this, and the third. So it's already clear we need the support to build out the space. And so, yes, you can go to blackgirlandhome.com/home-by-BGIO to support monetarily, as well as reach out to us, home@blackgirlandhome.com with like, what do you see? Like, how do you want to support? I already had someone who reached out saying that she has meditation cushions and she's like, I don't know if you have these already. I said, no, thank you.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So it's like, I want to know how you want to support and just know that my heart is wide open. My hands are wide open. My team, we're just like, hey, please do come over here and help. And I would say, letting people know, spreading the word. This is, to your point, it is four walls, but it's bigger than that. My vision for this space is that we have beautiful live streamed classes and also create all of our like beautiful content for our membership community in that space. So, you know, it will be a beautiful space that will be sharing far and wide around the world. You know, we have members in the circle that are from Canada and South Africa and the UK. It's like expansive. And we'll be having a wellness like essentials shop in there, as well as an apothecary. And the vision that I've recently having, it's very fresh. So it's like, it just feels very bold to even speak this. But when I started getting really passionate about herbal healing within the past year to 2 years and realized it was actually a part of my ancestral lineage, I was like all lit up, right? I was like, okay, I'm going to create these products and like, it's going to be awesome. And the space is going to have this bulk herbal apothecary. When I started looking for where I could get bulk herbal products, I wasn't able to find where I could get organic herbs in bulk from a Black source, right? Black farmer, Black supplier. Well, God came through and I met this amazing Black woman who is a farmer. And I was like, great. So she's going to source us with the bulk herbs, right? I realized recently, like this is very fresh, y'all, another aspect of the vision, because I was connecting with a new friend / support of mine, and she has an herbal company. She said, I would love to just switch my supplier to work with yours. And so I was like, wow, is Black Girl Home also going to be the source for already existing herbal, you know, brands, and especially Black women who are already creating herbal products, and we will be that supplier. So this is like a new vision, a new exciting aspect, because I know who I get the bulk herbs from, and I love them, but I'm like, I want to create a new place for you to go. So it's exciting, you know. This is what I mean by like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is like real time, like experimenting.
I love it, but you know what, you just put that out into the world and someone's going to listen and someone's going to be like, oh, right. So it's like, even before the idea is fully baked, like let's put it out there.
Yeah.
And I just love you for having all these ideas, because I wake up in the middle of the night with ideas all the time. And there are so many of them sometimes that it's like, okay, slow down. But I'm glad to know there's someone else who's just like, and then I could.
Yes.
And then it could. And then it could. Because how fun is that?
Yes. And specifically shifting, I see Toby said play and you just said use fun. Yeah. I have been really intentionally doing my best, which feels hard sometimes, to shift into this idea that creating is fun, creating is play, and noticing I feel resistance to that, you know? My friend Chetna, Mosaic Eye, beautiful artist, healing artist, she sent me a coloring book. And I told you earlier, we're journeying through abundance in the circle. I open it up, it's her coloring book, which is about abundance. And I was like, oh my God, have I colored in it yet? Why do I feel resistance to opening up the coloring book and going to town? Yeah. So I'm reprogramming myself to have fun, to sink into my inner child, to like have fun even building this space out. Why do I feel like it has to be this burden and this like this martyr energy of like, oh, I have to create this for the Black community? Why can't it be like, I get to create this with the community and I have all the support that I need?
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful note to end on. That is what I wish you, is just joy in your work, because work is not always a slog. Like work can be a huge, creative, beautiful, joyful force. And that's what you are, Lauren. It was so much fun being with you. Thank you for sharing yourself. Thank you. Totally and completely with everyone here. Thank you to everyone for being with us today. As I always say, stay close. We're here. And lots of love. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone, for being with us.
Thank you to the community. It has been amazing. I have had fun.
Yeah, this was definitely fun. All right. Thank you, and bye, everyone.
Bye.